Welcome. We're the Lorcana Twins, and we're here to bring you the latest news about Disney Lorcana. And we were off last week from work, but are back now. And wow, ever since we were out, there have been 51 cards revealed, which is a fourth of the whole set for the first chapter. So we have a lot to get into, and we're going to try to cover it pretty efficiently, but also, give some decent analysis on the cards and what we think of them. So
yeah, with Gen Con just a couple weeks away, I think the team at Lorcana is really just trying to flood us with some of the cards that we haven't seen yet, and it's really exciting how many new cards we've seen in the past couple of days, so we're going to get into it.
Yeah, I think some of these reveals have really blown our minds and even hyped us up even more, if that's possible at this point. We're just so excited for this game to release. So we will start with one of the 3 new legendaries that have been spoiled, and that is one that has been long awaited. It is Elsa, Spirit of Winter.
Yes, now Elsa is a Floodborn version, so she can shift on top of another Elsa, and this is a cost of 6 when you're shifting, or a cost of 8 when you're not, and it is not inkable. It is a 4/6 stat line, 3 lore, so that's a good amount of lore there, and the effect is Deep Freeze. When you play this character, exert up to 2 chosen characters. They can't ready at the start of their next turn. So this is a great way for the person who's playing Elsa to kind of lock down 2 characters on your opponent's side of the field that might be giving you some trouble. Maybe there's characters they have that could trade into Elsa, and you want to keep them locked down, because Elsa can shift on other Elsas, so she might be able to quest or challenge on her first turn that she comes in if the ink is already dry. So, here you could isolate some units that might have traded back against her and keep them locked down, or if there's some annoying exert effects on your opponent's side of the field, you can kind of tap those characters so they can't exert. So, there's a lot of versatility with this card. It's just very fun looking. We kind of expected there would be a legendary Elsa. She seems like a big front runner and kind of a poster character for this set. She's on, one of the booster packs.
Yep, and a lot of the cards. And this just seems like a really strong ability. Super excited for all the potential it has. And especially, stopping characters from questing. Because if they aren't able to be ready at the start of the turn, they can't quest, and that's the whole way you win the game. And I gotta say, this art too is phenomenal, and I do have a feeling this might be a really big chase card, especially in foil. If people are lucky enough to pull one of those, I think it'll look just
Absolutely.
amazing.
I mean, it's a 10 for 10 right now, but with some shine on it.
I think this seems like one of the strongest cards we've seen in the set, so that is very exciting.
Yes, and the flavor text does say ice is stronger than you may think, so
yes,
we're in for a treat with this one.
Now we'll get into the next legendary, and this one as well. I mean, wow, when I saw this, the potential is just crazy. It's Rapunzel, gifted with healing. She is 4 cost, inkable, 1 strength, 5 willpower, 2 lore, and with an ability called Gleam and Glow, which says when you play this character, remove up to 3 damage from one of your characters, draw a card for each 1 damage removed this way. So you could potentially draw 3 cards just from playing this 1 card, and at a cost of 4 for having 2 lore and 5 willpower, that is a pretty sturdy character at the 4 cost level with that 5 willpower, and 2 lore is nothing to laugh about either. So a lot of potential there, and I think just the ability to do it right on curve. Like, let's say you play a 3 cost Steamboat Mickey, it's a 3/4, and then maybe you trade him into something, whether he takes 1, 2, or 3 damage, you're able to heal that on play, on turn 4, and then draw cards based on that. And I think having a lot of cards in your hand is going to give you more options going forward, and it'll give you a leg up on your opponent, especially when we've seen some games, if decks are lacking card draw, then they can get into top deck mode and have to make whatever plays that they draw off the top, and that's usually suboptimal. So a lot of potential with this card, and I think this will be highly sought after, especially given its legendary status and its ability to impact the game.
This I think is the lowest cost legendary we've seen so far. Like, it only costs 4 to play. So I think it's more approachable, and it'll fit into more decks than some of the higher cost ones that you really need to build your deck super specific to kind of make those work. Now, and this one is a princess keyword as well, so that is gonna be helpful to the princess faction.
Very scary with Moana decks.
Absolutely. Now, this next legendary was one that I was very excited to see, because until this was revealed today, we hadn't seen any Treasure Planet cards, and the number of cards left to be revealed was kind of starting to dwindle a bit. So I didn't think we would really see this franchise in the first chapter, but I'm very glad that we did.
Yeah, we both rewatched it recently, and I knew I liked it when I was younger. and I liked it just as much now. It was cool to see it again.
Yeah, so here we have John Silver. He is an alien pirate as his subname. He is a 6 cost and he's inkable, so that's always nice. He's got a 5/5 stat line, pretty good for his cost, and he has 2 lore as well. And then his ability is pick your fights. When you play this character and whenever he quests, chosen opposing character gains reckless during their turn, meaning they can't quest and must challenge if able. So this is nice because not only do you get the reckless ability to put it on one of your opposing characters when you play this, but every time he quests, you get to keep activating that effect. So if you can set up your board in such a way that reckless is going to be of a benefit to you, or even just stopping someone on the opponent's side of the field that has high lore that you don't want to be able to quest, there's so many uses for this, and it's cool that he gets to activate his effect while he's getting you towards your win condition, which is getting towards that 20 lore. So, and very cool to see that he's legendary. I mean, I think he's really he was kind of an interesting character in the film. He kind of flopped back and forth between being villainous and then kind of having a soft heart and helping the protagonist Jim.
Yeah, so I think they went with
the villain
color
keyword here, and that will be nice for villain decks as well.
Yeah, and I think he fits very well in Emerald with how he is in the film. And then if you're able to protect him, you can continue to get value out of his ability every time he quests, and really lock some of their characters down. So the potential in the control deck, it's just amazing. We're really excited about that. And now, next card, we have Scar, Shameless Firebrand. So this is a Floodborn version of Scar. 8 cost, non-inkable, 6 strength, 6 willpower, 1 lore, and then it has the Shift 6 ability, so you can play this on top of a Scar by paying 6 to get it out cheaper than the 8 cost. And then he has Rousing Speech, which says when you play this character, ready your characters with cost 3 or less. They can't quest for the rest of the turn. So there's potential with that. Maybe you've done some challenges with some of your characters that are 3 cost or less, or sent them on quests, and then you want to ready them up and protect them for next time. Or maybe you send them all on a quest first, and then you ready them, and then you use them to challenge, so you kind of get more value out of them each turn than you normally would be able to. It is a expensive cost, but the stat line's pretty decent, and there is potential to make some sick plays with that ability. So we'll have to see how much play it sees, but I really love the art on this one too. That's a unique take on Scar, and he's got some ruby markings on his shoulder and arm.
Yeah, I wish he had more lore, I think, because but if this is kind of an expensive card, and then to only have 1 lore going forward, but you might be using him for the combat stats. He is a 6/6. It's just that a lot of the Scars we've seen so far are kind of high costed as well.
Yep.
And then you're not like the Sapphire one costs 6, and you actually have 2 lore on that card, I believe. So to go down to 1, I don't really think that's a play you'd want to make, just to get like a little bit of extra stats on him. So
perhaps on
I think
the
it's
Ruby
really
Scar, you could shift this one.
Yeah, your deck is gonna need to take good use of his Rousing Speech ability to make this see some play. And if it doesn't, then I think it's a cool card, and it's very niche, I think, but maybe something to include if you're playing a lot of 3 cost or less.
Yes, and now we have another Floodborn with Captain Hook, Thinking a Happy Thought.
Yeah, so this Captain Hook is a Shift 3, so if you're not paying the standard 5 cost for him, you can shift him onto one of your other Captain Hook characters for a cost of 3. He is a 2/5 stat line, and he has only 1 lore, so I kind of would have liked to see another lore on this as well, but he does have some big upsides, which are the Challenger +3. So when he attacks, he will be a 5/5. And then Stolen Dust is his ability, so characters with cost 3 or less can't challenge this character. So really, I think where he'll shine the most is in the early game, when your opponent doesn't quite have those higher cost units out. You may be able to freely challenge with this and just know they can't retaliate against you if they don't have anything of 4 cost or higher. Of course, this can be targeted by actions or on-play abilities, things like that. So he's not safe from being, let's say, smashed after he goes in for an attack. And the other thing too is if you're playing like the 1 cost hook on turn 1, you could play this on turn 3. Now maybe you've played another character on turn 2 or a couple 1-drops, but if that's the case, you've got a lot of low to the ground units, and then this is just going to go on top of your smaller hook, so you're not going to have a ton of board presence beyond once you've kind of leveled up. You might have 1 or 2, maybe 3 cards if they're out like 1 cost, but
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 I think
yeah,
what
I
does
think
seem strong is-
eventually your opponent will get to a point where they can handle this, and on defense he's only got that 2. But again, he's kind of like that smaller hook where he might sit there and threaten to do 5 damage.
Yeah, I think being able to swing for 5 for only a cost of 3, and especially if you are shifting him out and your base hook was ready to go, like he'll be able to attack right away. I think that would take out any stat line we've seen right now at that 3 cost, and if they don't have anything higher costed, and at that point in the game on the 3rd turn they shouldn't, he's safe from retaliation. So I think there's a lot of potential for him to get at least a couple trades against like lower costed enemy units.
Yeah, and what I think a lot of
that's really
Floodborn,
strong.
I think a lot of Floodborn cards, what they'll do to the game is make your opponent really sit there and think like, well, that hook on turn 3, that one drop could become this, this 3 drop. So do they really want to attack? Maybe they had something down that could withstand the 3 damage swing. Like maybe they shifted up to an Aurora, but
Yep.
then now if this, and maybe they quest with it because they think they can. But then if this comes down and swings for 5, the Aurora's gone. So I think it'll just, sometimes people might try to play around this and you might not have it in your hand. And, just the mind games that Floodborns, I think, will play with people.
But I gotta say, when I saw this card, I love the art and I love the thematicness of it, where, in the film, thinking a happy thought helps you to fly. And so he is not able to fly, but here he's able to think a happy thought, and he's soaring up above his pirate ship, up with a seagull, it looks like, up in the clouds, looks happy, and looks like there's maybe some pixie dust around him. I think this would look amazing in foil. And again, every time I see a steel card, it seems like they're really impressive, a lot of those steels. So.
Yeah, this one's pretty whimsical, so I do like the art, and it just has a cool vibe.
Yep, it might see a decent amount of play. And now, sticking within that franchise, we have Tinkerbell, Peter Pan's ally. This is a uninkable 5 cost with 3 strength, 3 willpower, 2 lore, and the evasive keyword. So evasive is a pretty good keyword, and having 2 lore, that is something good going for it. But it does have weak stats and could be vulnerable to things like Smash, which costs 3 less. It does have an ability that says Loyal and Devoted. Your character's named Peter Pan, gain Challenger +1. And so far we've only seen 1 Peter Pan, and so this ability, it seems like it'll only get better the more Peter Pans we see. But it's questionable if that'll merit the cost of this team being 5 cost and uninkable and with kind of a poor stat line. So it depends, how able your opponent is to be able to deal with evasives, because 2 lore over time, if they can't target her, was pretty good. But yeah, it seems like an expensive card for the stat line.
Yeah, I think this one's pretty expensive for what you get, and I'm not sure Challenger +1 is going to be that great. We'll have to see the other Peters. We've already seen like 3 Captain Hooks and 3 Tinkerbells, so
I'm
pretty sure Peter Pan being like the main character of that film.
Maybe a legendary Peter
I'm expecting
Pan,
we're
still
going to
hoping.
get probably a couple more Peter Pans. So. But anyway, yeah, this Tinkerbell, I think she's probably a little too expensive, and the uninkable factor really hurts this card. But yeah.
All right, and now we will move on to Horus.
All right, this is Horus. He is a 3-cost inkable 4/3, and he is vanilla, so he has no effect. But really what this shows me is it's basically the 3 for 3 force stat line has been flipped. So they're showing that, sometimes you could have a card that skews more towards the willpower or the defensive side, and this one skews a little more towards the strength or the offensive side. So, sometimes like a Tinkerbell that's 2/4, the 3-cost one, there might not be a lot of ways to deal with that for 3 costs, but now Horus gives people who want that kind of a thing in their deck to have a chance to say, well, if you play Tinkerbell, maybe I play Horus, and my Horus actually trades out and survives.
Yep.
In that case. So he's just a well-statted character that you could consider using, and he's common, so he's going to be readily obtainable.
Yes, and with Horus in the game, how could you not have Jasper in the game? So here he is, 3-cost inkable, common crook, with 2 strength, 4 willpower, and 1 lore, and an ability, Puppy Napping, which says whenever this character quests, chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn. So this is kind of like the reckless keyword, giving it to them almost, except they're not forced to challenge on their next turn. But it's a very nice way to target an opposing character. Let's say they have Brave Little Tailor Mickey and you're in the late game and you've got Horus here, and you can just send him on a quest and then say, nope, you don't get to quest with your Mickey for 4 lore next turn. So this could be a great piece in a control deck, a way to stall out your opponent. And, a 2/4 stat line for 3. Again, we haven't seen too many, units that would, at his cost level, take him out in one go. So, if you can protect him, you can really lock down the, character of your choice.
And I do love how he is a common Kruk, but he is an uncommon rarity. So that's a bit cheeky right there. So.
Yes, well, now we will move on to another Elsa card.
Elsa. Now, this one I really was surprised to see because I kept waiting for the Lorcana team to reveal the legendary one, and when this came, I wasn't expecting another Elsa besides the ones we had heard about.
But that's some fun art.
This is some fun art for sure. She is surfing on that ice. She is Elsa Ice Surfer, a 4-cost inkable, 3/4, and she's Dreamborn Hero Queen Sorcerer, and her ability is That's No Blizzard. Whenever you play a character named Anna, ready this character can't quest for the rest of this turn. So this kind of is another one of those cards where you could quest first and then get readied and protect her, or you could then choose to use her in a challenge. And you could also challenge twice with her in one turn. It's just different things like that. It's very flexible.
Yep.
It's 1 lore, so not great for 4 costs, but because of the effects that she has and the pretty good stats, I think your hope is that you get, maybe a couple trades out of this, or questing and trading, simultaneously. And I think the flexibility is what makes this potentially a decent inclusion in a Ruby deck.
Yes. And now we have Abu, Mischievous Monkey, and he is 3-cost inkable with 3 strength, 2 willpower, and 2 lore. So again, he's got a decent, pretty good amount of lore for his cost. But his stats, are a little on the lower end, especially if you compare him to the Kristoff we've seen, who also has 3 strength for a 3-cost, 2 lore, but 3 willpower instead of just the 2. So it's interesting. I do wonder why he is lower statted in that way. But, maybe there's cards out there that buff Abu in some way, or that he interacts with that would make him a little too strong at the 3 willpower. Not sure. We'll have to see when we see the full set. But, it's interesting to note the difference in the stats.
And yeah, because Jasmine and the Amber Mickey are also 3 for 3/3 with 2 lore.
Yep.
So I don't know why Abu has to work a little harder, to get there with his stat line. But again, we haven't seen everything, and maybe he gets better with some reveal that comes out a little later. So we'll just have to wait and see.
Yes.
Up next, we have another character from the Aladdin film. This is Genie, the ever impressive. He is a 2-cost inkable 2/3 vanilla card, basically, with 1 lore. So this is very akin to like your Minnie Mouse in Amber, a common stat line that's been developed so far, and so it looks like Emerald got one too.
Yes. And next, we have a card I was really excited to see. We saw it was kind of teased on the Lorcana website. And here he is, Cusco, Temperamental Emperor, with 5 costs, uninkable, 2 strength, 4 willpower, and 3 lore. So we haven't seen too many 5-cost characters that have 3 lore, but we have seen there is one that we will touch on later, a Sapphire Maleficent, and of course Moana has been revealed already with the 3 lore. This one, though, Cusco, while his stats might be, a little subpar for that 5 cost, he has Ward built in, so that's a great way to protect him from being removed, making that 3 lore on him look very scary. And then No Touchy is his ability, which says when this character is challenged and banished, you may banish the challenging character. So I absolutely love that. I think because of the Ward, they're probably, unless they have a way to AoE or just wipe the board, we have seen cards coming up that we'll touch on that could do that, but most likely if they don't have, removal that, you can't target him with removal, they will be forced to challenge into him. And so then whatever they use to finish him off will get banished in a challenge. So, if you're able to protect him maybe with bodyguards on top of his ward, this just gets even better. So I really love the look of this card. The art's amazing as well, and the potential to just, maybe this is the top end of your deck and you build it around protecting him, because 3 lore is a lot and that'll add up quick, especially if you had multiple Cuscos. So very cool looking card.
Yes, very excited to see some more Emperor's New Groove in the game. All right, up next we have Elsa. This is another effectless character. She is a 4-cost inkable, and her stat line is 4/4, so there's kind of like 4s all around. And this is the Queen Regent version, and she has 1 lore. So you're definitely not playing this for the lore. If you choose to play this, it's kind of more the combat stats. I did kind of think that, most of the time we've had like 2 for 2/3 with 1 lore. We've had 3 for 3/4 with one lore. So I was kind of expecting the 4 cost to be like a 4 for 4/5, but for whatever reason, this one is a 4 for 4/4. It may be that, we've seen the Shift Elsa, the legendary one, and
this is a good shift target for
if
that.
this was a 4/5, maybe it just is too hard to remove this, and then it's almost like making it easy to kind of keep it around so that you can get your higher Elsa out. So maybe they just decided for a balance perspective, let's make it a 4 for 4/4. Not sure. Either way, I love the art on this one. I think it's just pretty fantastic.
Because we've also seen that Zeus, who is 4 for 4/4 when he's challenging, I guess.
Yes.
So, but that has Rush. So yeah, I mean, it's an interesting stat line, but I do think it makes sense with the Shift Elsa. That seems very strong.
I like all the swirling, in the sky here, and
oh yes,
I think in foil that's really gonna shine as well. So, but another vanilla, and
now here's a character that I was really hoping would be making an appearance in the first chapter. It is Megara, pulling the strings. She's a 2-cost inkable, 2 strength, 1 willpower, 1 lore character, and she has the ability Wonder Boy. When you play this character, chosen character gets +2 strength this turn. So that just could help you buff any of your characters that are on board if you're going to use them in a challenge, and help them to trade up against things that maybe costed more than they did. And you could also give this, let's say, to a support character, and then when that support character quests, they'd have even more strength to give to someone else. So a lot of flexibility there. Just a cool common card to see.
Yeah, she was always one of my favorite characters from the Hercules film, and I really think they did a nice job on the theme of this one. So.
Absolutely.
All right, coming up next, we have Maximus. So this is the second Maximus so far in the set, and he is in Amber. He is a 5-cost inkable. His subtitle is Palace Horse, and he has the 4/5 stat line, and he is a bodyguard, but he also has the support keyword. So if he goes on a quest, then you can add his 4 strength to another character for that turn. So that's a big amount of support right there. And the cool thing is, he does want to turn sideways most of the time, because if you're using him to protect other characters, that's why you would play a bodyguard. So it's, unless you're going to use him in a challenge, if you have another character on board that you want to use in a challenge, it'd be great to just quest with Maximus for that 1 lore, and then someone else can swing a lot higher than they normally would with that +4. And so, I think this is very versatile because of those 2 effects being on the same card. I do think, definitely the trade-off is the 1 lore, but you're not really playing this card for the lore. It's probably there to protect and to support. So I think this is pretty strong, and Amber seems to be getting a decent number of characters that have some higher willpower, and so for healing, there's some healing cards we'll touch on a little bit later, but even that Rapunzel we already saw, the legendary, if this is down, maybe you do a trade with it on your following turn, and if it survives, maybe you heal it for 3 and draw 3 cards, and I think it just gives Amber a lot of nice tools and more draw power than we had seen before.
For him being a bodyguard that hits anything that hits into him for 4, I mean, that's a pretty significant amount of damage in this game from what we've seen.
And one risk of, like, if you're just playing, vanillas for stats with 1 lore, kind of all the way up the cost curve, your opponent may be playing like a lot of higher lore things and just trying to ignore what you're doing. And bodyguards will make them, like, if you have some high priority targets that they need to deal with and don't have like an action to answer it with, they will need to go through the bodyguards, and that will give you that'll make some trades kind of happen. So then it gives you things that you can heal. So as long as it's not like cleared in one hit. So I like this card. Wasn't expecting it, but I think it's pretty cool.
Yep. And next we have none other than Flynn Rider, Charming Rogue, who costs 2 ink, and he is 1 strength, 2 willpower, and 2 lore. So 2 lore for a cost of 2, that is pretty good. And here comes the Smolder, is his ability, which says whenever this character is challenged, the challenging player chooses and discards a card. So I think this is really cool. I know card draw is a big deal in this game, and card advantage, and if your opponent has to challenge into this and discard a card to do it, that might feel pretty bad. But also what would feel bad is for them to just let him, run wild and get 2 lore every turn. So I do think they're going to have to think about how best to remove him. I mean, I know a really obvious way would be if you have like a Fire the Cannons or a Stampede card, which we'll get into later, just to kind of, get rid of him without having to challenge. But, if they are forced to challenge into him, it won't feel very good for them, I guess. And, it'll feel pretty good for you. And so, yeah, I really like this card. Cool to see Flynn represented in the game.
Yeah, I think if your opponent isn't like finding cards that draw them additional cards, and then like let's say they go first and you don't even draw on that first turn, you might pretty quickly get into almost like the top deck mode, and early on you're not going to want to sacrifice any of the cards in your hand, most likely, because you need them as resources, you need them to put pressure on the board.
Yep.
So I think it's going to feel really bad needing to challenge into this if you find yourself without some removal in hand.
Yeah, and Emerald's looking really scary. I mean, if you play this in conjunction with like Cruella de Vil and Cheshire Cat and another card, and the Cusco, and I don't know, it's just gonna feel like, what do I do about any of it? There's always a drawback to trying to deal with any of those if you're not able to deal with it like in the way that doesn't punish you. So I think it's gonna be really fun to build decks around that, and a puzzle for the opponent to try to figure out how to get around it. But very cool ability on Flynn.
Yes, and now here is Hans, 13th in line from Frozen. He is a 4-cost Inkable, 3/3 stat line, and he's got 2 lore, so that's pretty good for 4 cost. And then his ability, Stage a Little Accident. Whenever this character quests, you may deal 1 damage to chosen character. So this card would be good for like kind of picking off, like the 1-cost Maleficent that has 1 health, the 1-cost Pascal that has 1, I guess we'll call it willpower. Pascal is another example, and the Lilo in Amber, that's a 1/1. Anything like that your opponent might be hoping they can get away with, questing for 2 every turn.
Right, those would be great targets with this.
This can just kind of delete those as it goes on a quest, and then because it's got that 2 lore, your opponent will want to deal with this as soon as they can. So either they'll do some combat against it and he'll hit for 3, or they might try to remove it with a spell. But he'll probably absorb a lot of aggro from your opponent, and then as you curve into some of your even higher cost better stuff, maybe they will be out of some removal at that point, or out of some damage actions. So I think this is really good because it just gives you flexibility, and even if the 1 damage that you deal to something doesn't remove it, it's like maybe they have a 4 health thing on the board or a 4 willpower, and you deal 1 damage to it, then like, well, if they trade back into my Hans, they are going to be banished on the following turn. So
yep,
it's just, there's cool flexibility, and anything that like does little extra points of damage. We've seen a lot of those effects more so in Steel than really any other ink so far. So I think Steel really seems to be kind of a damage focus, really skirmishy combat oriented type color. And here I do like the 2 lore though, because it kind of lets you be aggressive towards the win condition while still having some impact on the board.
Right, because to use this effect you have to go on a quest, and so it feels pretty good to go on a quest with him to get that 2 lore. And I do think also his ability could activate or turn on that legendary Beasts ability where it exhausts or exerts all of your opponent's characters that have damage. So this could ping a character that does not have damage, and then Beast could, charge in.
Yes, Beast perfectly costs 5, so he could be played immediately on the following turn. Hans is a super rare card, so he will be harder to pull.
And Beast is a legendary, so that would be an expensive combo, but it's got great potential.
Yes.
And now we will look at Scimitar, Stolen Scimitar. It is 2-cost Inkable with the ability Slash, and you exert this item. And then chosen character gets +1 strength this turn, and if the character is named Aladdin, he gets +2 strength instead. So I think this is an interesting card. It'll sit on board, as long as it's able to, if your opponent doesn't remove it. And then anytime you want to do any combat with your characters, then they'll be able to potentially, trade up or be better statted, at least one of your units, every turn going forward. So, and if you are playing an Aladdin deck, then he can, hit for quite a bit harder than he might normally. So, I'm not sure how much play it'll see, but it is an interesting way to buff, characters whenever you need a buff. So, it's got potential.
And I kind of like this with the Emerald Aladdin too, because he has ward, so he probably will just be sitting on your board, not exerted. And if you have a Stolen Scimitar as well, he could swing for 4 instead of 2. So, and if they can't remove the Aladdin, then maybe they have some item removal. I think Stolen Scimitar would be a good thing to get rid of if you had item removal in your deck. But yeah, I like what this does, and even if you're not even if you don't have Aladdin, in the moment, this card still gives you +1 somewhere else, and that one extra strength might make the difference. So, pretty decent card, and really I think it's one of the only buff cards we've seen that sits on board, and can consistently be utilized. So yeah, I kind of like this one.
Now this next card really took me by surprise in a great way. I love this card. It is Mickey Mouse, Artful Rogue.
Yeah, so Mickey Mouse is a 7-cost uninkable. He's got 6/5, and he's Floodborn, and we have a lot of Mickeys in this set, so there's several potential targets to shift this on top of. Some of them are pretty expensive, so some are definitely better than others as shift targets, but you can shift for 5, and he has got 2 lore. And then the effect here is Misdirection. Whenever you play an action, chosen opposing character can't quest during their next turn. So this is another way that Emerald players can try to prevent, their opponent from questing, and this will be great for stopping like the Ruby Mickey Mouse or anything with a high lore value that you don't want to quest. And many cards, like for example Hans, when he quests, he gets to deal a damage. So anything that like gets a benefit when it quests, would be a good target to use this against. And really, it'll be interesting to see how many actions people can get away with playing. There are some actions later that we'll touch on that maybe interact with this quite well. But one thing I would say about this card too is it is a little expensive. And then if you're only playing actions, you still need to be playing characters at the same time and working towards that 20 lore. And if you want to protect Mickey by not using him for questing, so that you always have a way to kind of keep this effect online, then
you want to protect him in some way.
I'm not then he's not helping you towards your win condition either. So I think you do want to be able to win the board and then still be able to quest with him, or use him for combat. His stats aren't bad at all; they're pretty good. But it just depends on the situation you're in.
I think it just seems strong. Like potentially, let's say you're kind of late game, and maybe they have 2 big units on board, and let's say you Dragonfire one of them, and then you just say, and the other one can't quest. So now it's like, you can't do much other than potentially challenge. And if you're able to protect him, I mean, every time you use an action, you can just keep that train going. Or even like cheap removal cards, like Fire the Cannons or something like that. Maybe you remove one of their cheap little weenies, and then you block another one from questing and just really stall the game out. And with Emerald, there's so many things too that feels bad for them to attack into. You could just really try to get the lore going and have them being unable to get lore. So even if they are challenging into yours and cleaning them out, as long as you're able to keep putting things on board and questing, you might be able to just get to that 20 lore before they are, because of all the stalling out this can do. So I think it's got great potential and a really unique take on Mickey Mouse, and I love the artwork of this one. Definitely hoping to pull many of these cards.
Yeah, I think as long as your opponent, maybe they can't quest, but at least they can still challenge. So there might be times when the 5 willpower isn't enough to kind of help him survive. But of course, that's the time where maybe you won't quest with him or whatever. You'll still have to kind of be flexible based on what situation you're in. But another thing I think is interesting about Floodborns is, if you expect they're going to do this and you have a removal card, maybe you just wait and then until they've stacked them, and then you kind of get, maybe you Dragonfire Mickey and you get a 2-for-1. So it's interesting, but I think it is a fun card. It's got serious potential to pull out some really cool combos.
Yeah, and I think being able to shift for 5, that's not too expensive.
Nope.
Especially with some, there's a 3-cost Mickey and at least 3 of the inks. Actually, those are probably the best targets for this one.
Yep.
So yeah, very exciting to see. And now here is one of those actions that might be great with Mickey. So to do it again, we've seen this on the Lady Tremaine character card, but here's the action for a 3-cost uninkable. It says return an action card from your discard to your hand. So this would be a way to get a lot of those actions back that you've already played later, and that would then let your Mickey say, okay, well, this character can't quest because I just played this. And yeah, there's just a lot of potential there, especially if you had multiple do-it-agains. That would just create a loop where it just kind of keep grabbing the other one and saying, a character can't quest. And yeah, that's maybe not what you'd opt for in most cases, especially if you had a really valuable action, grab your swords or something like that, or maybe you're playing Ruby and you have Dragonfire or whatever. But in the right setup, you'll just grab whatever you need. But yeah, it's definitely interesting. It's half the cost of Tremaine, and it doesn't put a body on the board for you to get lore off of. But she doesn't have much lore herself, anyways. So
I like how there's a bunch of
it's got potential.
Text on this card, and most of it is just the quote on the bottom. So
yeah. But yeah, just another way to grab back an action that you've already played and, get more, keep your deck chugging along.
Now this next card, I'm very, very thrilled to see.
Mm-hmm. Beautiful artwork.
A whole new world. Yeah, I like how, in Steel, the background is usually a little more muted or gray, and they use color bursts in this card to kind of really, it just really pops. You've got the fireworks all over here and many different colors going on. But this is a pretty unique card because it is super rare and it is 5 cost, not inkable, but it's a song, so it can be sung for free if you have a character that is 5 cost or more. And the effect, each player discards their hand and draws 7 cards. And really what this could do is, I think the best use of this is if you're playing an aggressive deck that wants to play a lot of things quickly and kind of dump your hand, and then you play this when you have 5 resources or a 5 cost character that can sing it, and then you refill your whole hand, and you try to do that while your opponent still has maybe a few cards or 3, some cards in hand, so that they're not getting a huge advantage out of this as well. And really it's just if you've kind of run out of gas, and then you play this and you have a lot of options again. So I think this is perfect for those kind of rush decks, and even even if you're not playing a rush deck, maybe you want to run a couple of this sometimes, because there might be those games where you just need to see more options.
Yeah, maybe your hand's horrendous and you just toss it back and get a fresh hand.
So getting 7 cards deeper into your deck might be, just what you need to find the card that you're looking for to win.
And I know so far we haven't seen a ton of it, but if there are ways in the future to go search and find certain cards, add them to your hand, you're trying to sculpt the correct combo or whatever you're really looking for in your deck, that's the important key part of your deck. If you see your opponent doing that, this would be a way to make them discard the things they've been assembling in their hand and start fresh as well. And yeah, like you said, I think if you're just playing a strategy where you try to dump as much on the board as you can and then refill when you're out of cards, and even if your opponent has 3 or 4 or 5 cards in hand, it's going to feel great to get that many cards back, and you'll just pull way ahead in the option. So this is amazing card draw, and yeah, I think this changes a lot of the impressions from before, where it seemed like there wasn't maybe gonna be a ton of card draw, but we knew there had to be some hiding out there, and this looks amazing. And now another song. We have Mother Knows Best. It is 3 cost, uninkable, in Emerald, and it says return chosen character to their player's hand. So this is a bounce effect. It's similar to the on play effect that Genie has. And so yeah, if you play this at the right time in the game, it could be very pivotal and just kind of stall them out, set them back. Especially this only costs 3, so if you use this on something that costs more than 3, even something that costs 8 or 9, that probably feels pretty bad for the opponent to
for sure
spend their whole turn playing that one thing, and then you just simply bounce it back and probably do a bunch else with your remaining ink. So
yeah, this is very tempo oriented, and even if you can sing this and get away with that and then still have all of your ink left to play other things, this you could really push ahead on the board while setting your opponent behind. So,
and I think
absolutely love this card.
The image looks very nice and kind of spooky. So very, very nice.
And what this card also makes me wonder is, when we're gonna get that Mother Gothel reveal and what she's gonna do. What effects she might have, because she's definitely got to be in there. So next up we have Reflection. This is a 1 cost action song. Obviously from Mulan, which was a very, very nice film. And I liked what they did here with the art, because it seems like we're seeing her reflection on some water, so that's really cool. Got the lotus kind of floating up in the right hand corner there. Now the ability on this is that you can look at the top 3 cards of your deck and then put them back on the top of your deck in any order. So you don't really get to draw, you just kind of get to rearrange and the top 3 order of your deck. And I think this might be good in the future, and it has its uses right now too. Just sometimes you might really say, I need to draw that 3rd card next time it's way better than the first two, so I'm going to put it on top. That's good. It helps you get to what you want a little quicker, but you're still going to need to draw through those next two later. So I think, paying a card just to kind of organize things, I might rather just have a character to play or something. But some very specific decks will probably want to take advantage of this. And of course, the further we get in the game, I think there will be cards that it might say, like, if the next card you draw is whatever, and like this would be a way to kind of stack that and make it happen. So, I think it has uses, especially going forward.
I think especially like maybe late.
Right now, I'm not sure.
I think like late game, if you're seeing like I really need a certain draw, and you can tell like, oh well, two of my next three are duds, but this third one might save the game or win me the game, whatever. I think this does have pretty big potential, and if you draw it earlier, you could just ink it. I mean, not a big deal, and it only costs one. So I definitely think there's potential for some of it. I don't know like how many copies you would run in a deck, if you run any at all. But yeah, I love the art, and I do like the potential.
If you're playing a song heavy deck, I mean, this one's very cheap. You can sing it with, like, a lot of times, like the ones that are more expensive, sometimes you're like, oh, do I really want to sing that because I could be getting 2 or 3 lore off this character, for example, versus just singing it for free. But on this, many of the one cost characters you may be playing, they probably only have 1 lore unless they're one of those lore greedy like 2 ones. But in this case, you probably feel like you're not missing out on much to sing this for free. And so, if you need to get some knowledge about what's coming next in your deck, and kind of help put it to your liking, this might be the card for you.
Yes. And now we have Hakuna Matata. We'd seen this art revealed before, but not the card. It is 4 costs, inkable, and it says remove up to 3 damage from each of your characters. So this one, it has potential to heal a lot of things. I'm not 100% sold on like that it'll see a ton of play necessarily, but there is potential. But yeah, at a cost of 4, I just wonder if that's a bit expensive, and I am curious, like, how much damage I would need to heal to make it feel worth that cost.
Of course, you can sing it, so it might cost
that's
you,
true.
Depending.
But just, yeah, especially if people play, like I've said in the past, like where they don't challenge into something unless they can, take it out that very same turn, then there'd be nothing left to heal. So it's just difficult to see, if you're gonna consistently get a wide board with a bunch of damaged characters. But if you're against like a Tinkerbell deck, that giant Tinkerbell, which we'll talk about, or well, we already have, but where she does 1 to everything, that would, let's say, turn on that legendary beast ability. But if you heal everything on board, then that kind of shuts that off. And also just, if people are whittling down some of yours but not quite able to finish off, this could top them back up. So it's got potential. But yeah, I'm not sure overall. Like the Rapunzel healing that we saw in the legendary Rapunzel seems really strong. This one, it could be in the right moment, but maybe I would think it would see a lot less play than her.
What I like about the Rapunzel one is, like, you're healing, but what you probably care about most is that you're drawing cards because of it, and this one is just a heal. But in a bodyguard deck, I could see that might be like the best place to use this. Because bodyguards want to exert anyway, so if you use them to sing this, and you're probably getting some challenges into your bodyguards, so the health that this heals up may be relevant, in that scenario. So have to see. I think healing so far has seemed a little bit underpowered compared to other effects, because a lot of things can either just straight remove something, or there's enough damage to clear something, and then there's nothing to heal, and you might rather just expand your board versus trying to heal what you already have. But
yes, like the next card we're gonna go over is one that makes me like less likely to want to use this Hakuna Matata, because like you said, it just removes everything on board. So regardless of how you healed it up, it will all just disappear. And that is be prepared.
Be prepared. It is a 7 cost. It is not inkable, and I think it's good that it's not, because it's a pretty strong effect to banish all characters. So this does include your own, but it is a song, so you can sing it. So probably the easiest way I see to sing this, like in Ruby right now, might be to do it on your Ruby Aladdin, because you could have that out on turn 5, assuming you're not ramping or anything. You may very well be ramping if you're playing like a Ruby Sapphire, but let's just say you got your Aladdin out on turn 5. He could already sing this if you were like against a really aggro rush deck that was just putting a lot of pressure on you. So you could do that, or even you could just wait a turn, and well, I guess what I was trying to say here is, The nice thing would be if you already have one ready to go and you haven't spent any resources that turn, you can of course sing the song. It will wipe your own stuff, but then you can be the first one to kind of refill your board by using your ink to kind of get ahead of your opponent. So maybe you went second, you've been behind all game, and this helps you catch up when used correctly. And
Right. I personally probably would, prefer to use the Aladdin
of
to,
course,
challenge
yes.
and get that 2 lore gain and take away 2 lore from them. But, if he was the only target, it is, a quick way to do it on turn 5. And especially if you are, way behind and you need that emergency, like reset the board button, absolutely that would be, a good idea. And depending on whatever color you pair your deck with, assuming you're not doing mono ruby, then you'll probably have other 7-cost characters in that other ink color too that you could use to sing it. But yeah, I think when we saw this card, I mean, we were hoping there was a board wipe, especially for those games where if you fall so far behind that there's this no hope of coming back, because you can't expect to top deck single target removal perfectly for the rest of the game. So this is a great way to shut down some of those early game decks and then give yourself a chance to claw your way back in. So really like this.
And I do love that you can sing it, because I think if you've been behind all game and then it takes your entire turn to just hard cast this for 7 and you're not able to really develop after, then you might just find yourself another turn behind again, and your opponent is developing characters that can get lower, and then you need to try to answer that, and they'll have the first chance to go on quests again, so you might be on the back foot. But then the fact that you can sing this, if you can pull that off, it gives you then the option of being the first to develop and kind of turning the tables on them. So
Yep.
I think this will be a powerful card. It'll be
It's always-
something that'll make players also feel like, well, maybe I can't just sit back and not use my characters. Like I can't just not quest with them or not challenge, because once
threat
a
of
Ruby
this
player
happening.
has 7 resources, this could happen, and you might wish you had used some of your stuff
and at
earlier.
least gotten some value out of it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think just the threat of this card will make things interesting, because maybe some decks, like, you've worked really hard to build up a good board and protect things and keep them healed up, and then all of a sudden it just all your efforts are kind of down the drain with this one. So you'll have to try to not go all the way in, if there's a risk of this happening. But sometimes just the threat that they might shouldn't hold you back. Maybe you're playing a deck where you have to go all the way in, or you're not gonna win. If you play too slow, you'll give them time to shut you out. So it adds a good element to the game, and I'm excited to see it. But it is definitely something to look out for if you're sitting across from a Ruby deck.
Yes.
And now we have another Lion King themed card, Vicious Betrayal, a 1-cost inkable action in Emerald that says chosen character gets +2 strength this turn, and if it's a villain, they get +3 instead. So here is another example of a way to make a character, hit a lot harder than their base stats and potentially get a really nice value trade. So, it's another interesting thing to watch out for, or to just help you maybe use one of your early game weenie cards to take out one of a character they invested a lot more in. So there's potential with this one as well, and it's inkable. So if you don't find a good time to use this, then you will just be able to ink it. And I mean, that's quite an iconic part from the film,
sure
and I
is.
think this art was very well done to capture that.
Now we have Marshmallow from Frozen. This is a 6-cost, not inkable, 5/5, and he is Persistent Guardian, a Storyborn ally. His effect is durable. When this character is banished in a challenge, you may return this card to your hand. So the wording of this means it happens whether you're challenging or whether he's getting challenged. He always goes back to your hand if he's finished off in a challenge. He only has 1 lore, so that definitely skews him towards wanting to challenge versus quest. But if you have won the board, then I think it's great that you can still quest with this. And if they don't have a removal action or an ability that can get him off the table, then he's just going to be very annoying, because you'd probably just say it's not worth my resources to take care of this when he's just going to come right back. However, I do think this card is a bit slow, because if your opponent is just trying to lore rush you, like anything basically except the Gaston that has no lore is going to have at least 1 lore, and so like a lot of things are much cheaper than 6, and there may be games when this just kind of gets stuck in your hand and you're unable to ink it.
And if it does get removed with a spell or an action, then you're not able to get it back to your hand, so that's kind of a limitation there as well.
And you may get to turn 6 and be like, I don't really want to play this turn, like depending on what the game's looking like.
It does seem like a great card to combo with the White Rabbit's Pocket Watch and just rush it in where you're maybe able to ensure that it takes something out and also goes down and returns to your hand. And because once you have like that set up, then you can just keep doing that over and over and over whenever your opponent presents a target to you. So that would be annoying for them to deal with, I'm sure.
Yeah, it'll probably
it still
this card will
slow.
change the way people play. I think when they'll really have to think about what they want to quest with and challenge with if they don't have an action to kind of get rid of him. But I think he might be a little too slow, but I do think it's a cool effect. And some decks might be built in such a way that this is just perfect, and really they can take advantage of it. So
yeah, if you're both playing slow, grindy decks, then this just returning your hand over and over will be a form of card advantage in itself. So it is a very interesting card.
It does have its upside.
Yeah, I think it's cool that he got featured here in a Super Rare. And here we have Stampede. It is 1 cost, uninkable emerald action. And this says deal 2 damage to chosen damaged character. So it's very similar to Fire the Cannons, except that the character you're dealing damage to has to be damaged already. So I think that makes it just inherently weaker than Fire the Cannons. And so far, I mean, we don't know if there's a way to, recur Stampede to your hand, like, Fire the Cannons does with Hook. So the Fire the Cannons is seeming a lot stronger, but if you maybe pair this with Tinkerbell, the giant fairy, when you play her, it deals 1 to everything. So now you'd be able to target any of their units with this.
Of course, you could recur it with, do it again.
Sure.
But I'm not sure that's like, that great to be.
Because that's not like just this card specific, whereas the Fire the Cannons is. But yeah, so it's interesting that it's, similar, but yet clearly looks a little weaker. So I don't know, maybe it'll be used like if, let's say, people challenge into your Cruella or something weak, or maybe you just swing in with her because that they don't really want to attack into her, but you could just put a damage down on something and then finish it off with this.
I think this card to me just seems like a lot of extra work for, like if you have no other options for damage cards, maybe I would use this, but
the fact that it's uninkable means you have to play it or it'll just sit in your hand. So that to me, and then the fact that they have to have damaged characters. So what really makes it less desirable is like if they play something down, like the Maleficent Biding Her Time, which just has 1 willpower and 2 lore, and you really want to just take it off the board, but you can't because it's not damaged. Does make it feel a lot less ideal. So I don't know how much play this will see, but maybe Emerald just doesn't have much other options for damage. So
yeah, I think that's really what the key is maybe you're playing like an Emerald Sapphire deck, and so far this is, I think, the only like damage effect we've seen in those 2 colors. And like there will be some people playing different ink combos that that you're going to have to use the tools that are available, and so this might be something you kind of need. And I do think it's a game where there is going to be a lot of trading back and forth, so very many times your opponent probably will have a character that just has 2 damage left, and so it may be usable. But
yeah, it'd be an efficient way to finish a character off for 1 ink.
Yeah,
so
it's just a little unfortunate that this one has a conditional effect before you can even play it, and then the Fire the Cannons is you can recur it with the Captain Hook, which I think makes that a really nice combo.
Yeah, whereas to get to do it over and over.
This one likely will not have a character that recurs it just automatically.
Yeah, and it's probably not like
besides Lady
an
Tremaine.
action you'd really want to go grab off of an ability like Lady Tremaine's, because there's probably a lot higher value actions. So, but
now
that
the
is
next card is Scepter of Arendelle. Oh wait, I'm getting ahead of myself.
Coming later.
It is Hans, Scheming Prince. So I enjoyed talking about the last Hans, but this one is very similar. He's a 4 cost and a 3/3 stat one, so that's all the same. But what is different here is the 3 lore instead of 2, and of course no effect. So this is skewing more heavily towards that I'm greedy for lore kind of thing, and I want to get to my win condition as fast as I can. Now the nice thing here is if that extra point of damage that the other Hans gets to do to something for questing, if you don't really need that, this comes down and you just get lore a bit faster, and it's really aggressive. I think this is the first
3 lore
like
for
4 cost for 3 that we've seen. So to me that's exciting, because there's going to be some deck types that just try to go for lore fast, and I think he's going to really help that. And let's say you're playing this with Amber, even if he goes down in the challenge, maybe you've got the 4 cost Hades, and you can recur him and play him down again. And if your opponent can't deal with him with an action, like every time he quests, he's going to get 3. So he kind of like makes you have an answer right away.
Yeah, you could just have a low cost, high lore game plan like that, where you play them out and you quest them, and if they survive, you quest again. If not, you try to recur and do it later.
Like Flynn Rider has 2 lore on turn 2, and it's just a lot of interesting cards that are powerful. Cheshire Cat, I think, is pretty strong.
And that to me, like,
it's just gonna frustrate the opponent to be like, look at all this lore, and I need to keep getting rid of it, or they're gonna be at 20 before I know it. And so, like, especially some ramp decks might just really struggle against a deck type like that, where they might need to build up to some high ink before they can start playing their powerful cards, and in the meantime you're just getting close to that 20. So
and I think this makes it really exciting. Like, I know that he looks like a vanilla because he doesn't have any effect, but it's a very unique stat line with the amount of lore at that cost. Like, this is the only one we've seen so far, so a lot of the characters, like, they still feel different even if they are vanilla, because they've got the slightly different stat lines, and it'll just take some play testing to determine which ones you want to run in the deck. Compared to some of the other vanillas like the Flounder and the Goons, which are both 1 for 2/2 with 1 lore. There's one of those in each ink type, so those feel more vanilla to me, despite they all have unique characters and cool art and stuff.
And this
feels,
art really fascinates me. I think they perfectly captured how scheming he is. He looks like he's staring out, plotting something, and this reminds me of the Lady Tremaine background, kind of how it's in front of a window, and it has the emerald ink design kind of welded into the back of that. So I enjoy everything about this card.
Mm-hmm. And now here is the Scepter of Arendelle. It is a 1 cost inkable sapphire item with the command ability, where you exert this item and then chosen character gains support this turn, which means that when that character quests, you can add their strength to another character's strength for this turn. This feels really strong to me. I think from the supports we've seen so far, I know Merlin is one of them, and Hey, and now one of the Maximus cards. It just feels really strong. Like, you're questing with a character that you probably want to be questing anyway to get toward your win, and then you get to give that strength to someone else, and they can probably get a value trade. And just something that comes to mind is a Maleficent card we're going to talk about sometime coming up, which costs 5 and has 3 lore, but has a 3/6 stat line. So when you quest with that one, let's say you get the 3 lore, and then you could give Maleficent's 3 strength to something else just by exerting this scepter. And so that, I think, is a very nice combo right there. And
and the Hans we just saw is very much the same thing.
Right.
He can quest for 3, and you get that +3 to another character, so they can maybe challenge and remove a threat while Hans goes on his questing.
I think it's a good way to get extra value out of the ones that are questing, and then maybe trading something else off that is a very efficient trade for you. So I think this will have a lot of potential for play, since you can give the support keyword to any character you have. So,
and what I like is this is a very cheap item at only 1 cost,
and
then it sits on board all game long, unless it gets removed, and it always seems like it's going to have value as long as you've got a couple characters in play and your opponent has something exerted that you can challenge. So I really like this card, I think, and there's some item decks that people might be building that could really take advantage of the Scepter of Arendelle.
Yes. And next we have Minnie Mouse.
All right, she is always classy. She is a 1 cost inkable 1/3 stat line. So this is essentially the Amethyst Olaf, because she has no ability but 1 lore. So now we've seen two different characters that have that same stat line.
Yep, so that makes them feel a little more
I do wonder,
vanilla.
like, will we get any other inks that have this same stat line? Possibly, like, we've seen a 1 for 2/2 with 1 lore in every single color. So
this seems like a stat line where that might happen. But
if we get this in every color, then we still have 4 more of these.
If not in this set, entirely, then maybe
I'm hoping this
some
is
future sets
maybe more just like 2 or 3 of them were like this, and maybe maybe the other 3 inks got like a slightly different, stat line on something else. But this one looks pretty cool.
Yeah, I really like the art on this one.
And yeah, I think Ruby could have benefited from some one drops as far as what we've seen so far. This is maybe only the second one, I think. So, just gives you a different stat line to play.
And now we have the Duke of Wesselton, opportunistic official, 1 cost, 2 strength, 2 willpower, and 1 lore. So here is, like the Flounder and the Goons I had touched on, it is the same stat line as them, and this completes the set where we've got 1 in every ink. So, that makes him feel pretty vanilla, but I really like this art in the way that, it's not really taken from the film at all. It seems like he's in the Great Illuminary and doing some investigating as to what is transpiring there. It looks like maybe he's finding some ink or something related to the sea. So
I think he could also potentially be better than some of the other ones at this same stat line, just because of that villain keyword. So if you're playing a villain specific deck, like with the Hades, that gets an extra lore for each villain you have in play. This one is very low to the ground for cost.
Right, so there are ways to distinguish cards like that, even though they might have identical stat lines. And like the Stitch New Dog comes to mind as well, because although he's identical stats, he's a target that you could shift your Rockstar Stitch on top of. So, even though they are identical stats, there's different things to be done with them and strategies around it. So yeah,
that's what I think so fun and flexible about just card games in general. But this one, and even just like the keywords and the subtypes,
even if it doesn't do anything in the first set, it might in the future as well. So, and now we have another item card.
Yes, this is the Musketeer Tabard, and it is a 4 cost, not inkable item. And it has the ability all for one and one for all. So whenever one of your characters with bodyguard is banished, you may draw a card. Now, I think this would be, fun to test out once we get a lot of bodyguards, where your whole deck basically can be bodyguards and then some key cards that they're protecting. But essentially, like, if this comes down and isn't removed, then every time your characters are getting, banished, you're able to replace them with something else into your hand and just keep seeing different options to play. It is 4 costs, so it takes a while before this can even come online, but most of the bodyguards we've seen so far, with the exception of Simba, which is a 2 for 2/3, this card here, a lot of the times I think the bodyguards cost more, than 4, so you have time to get this in play before those bigger bodyguards come out. The new Maximus we saw is a 5 cost. We've got 5 cost Goofy, we've got the 6 cost Mickey, so there's options that you can use.
Yeah, I think just the fact that it's not just when they're banished in a challenge, but also if they're banished because of any action, you also get to draw a card. So honestly, I mean, you could draw a ton of cards off of this thing in a, heavily filled with bodyguard deck. So,
yeah, and I think that could be
potential.
Very frustrating for your opponent if they're like, well, I kind of need to keep removing these characters, but I know I'm just giving them, more draw power. And so the more bodyguards we get, and once we get like a lot of really good ones that work well together, and as a strategy you can develop around that, I think this card could be a good way to just give you extra card draw in that type of deck.
I'm imagining the Musketeer themed deck will do very nicely with this item.
Yes.
And next we have the Maleficent. I've touched on a couple times so far. It is 5 costs, inkable, uninvited is her subtitle, 3 strength, 6 willpower, and 3 lore. No ability, but these stats are pretty amazing, I think, at this cost level. Like I said, we've seen Moana with 3 lore, but she's a 1/6 with a great ability. And then, we've seen one other 5 drop now, the Cusco with the 3 lore. But here she is, and I think that 6 willpower is really going to be hard for, the enemy to remove at this cost level in the game. And then if they do challenge into her, her 3 strength is actually going to, hit them back for a significant amount, as opposed to Moana, who, just hits for 1. So I think she's got a lot of potential with that.
Yeah, and especially if you can ramp her out with some of those Sapphire ramp cards, you could see her on the board, even earlier than turn 5. And so, the faster you can start getting that lore gain, and it's really going to, put the heat on the opponent and make them need to come up with an answer for this too. So whether they burn a removal card on this when they can pay for it, or if they need to, use a couple characters in a challenge to get rid of this, like, it's probably going to help you get ahead in some way.
And this art is just amazing as well.
Yeah, I like how it almost looks like her crow is, very, very celestial here.
Yeah.
So, and I like the uninvited, sub name. That's pretty nice.
She doesn't look like she cares too much that she was uninvited. She is attending anyway.
All right, here we have Aladdin, Street Rat. So he is a 3-cost inkable 2/2 Storyborn hero, and his ability is Improvise. When you play this character, each opponent loses 1 lore. So, he's definitely a little high. His stats aren't, something great. They're just 2/2, and you can get that for 1 cost. So here, your extra 2 cost is really paying for your opponent to lose 1, and it has, the basic amount of lore, which is just 1. So really, I think where you would use this is if you're playing the Shift Ruby Aladdin. This just gives you another option that you can play your Aladdin on, and it's nice because before this we only had one in Emerald, so now you have another one in Ruby. So if you don't want to play Ruby and Emerald, you can play a different color as well and still have an Aladdin to shift on. And we know there's a Steel Aladdin coming. We haven't seen it yet. We've just seen that it's been hinted at. So, maybe Ruby Steel could be nice too.
But yeah, it's cool to see another way to make your opponent lose lore. Yeah. Because especially if you do it, more than once over the course of the game, it might be a significant difference in whether the opponent is able to get to 20
it might be
or not.
fun if there's a point where you can build a deck that is just almost everything you do, or a lot of what you do is like, I'm taking your lore, or I'm holding you back and really just putting you in these weird places where you have to work harder than 20, to get the game over.
And it's pretty fitting. It looks like he's, making off with a nice loaf of bread there. So kind of like taking the lore away from the opponent. And he looks like he's having a great time. Love the art on that. Just looks very happy. And now we have Prince Philip. 4-cost uninkable. I really love this card.
This
when I saw
cool.
that. Oh my gosh. Dragon Slayer. 3 strength, 3 willpower, 2 lore. And he has Heroism as his ability, which says when this character challenges and is banished, you may banish the challenged character. So it's really cool, the ability to just run him into something that's, let's say a lot bigger than him. So let's just keep it thematic. Let's say they've got the Maleficent Monstrous Dragon on the board, and maybe you're playing Amber Amethyst and you have the Pocket Watch out, and you give him Rush and you just slam him into the dragon, and then you get to banish the dragon as well, even though it's, a much higher statted character. So just the threat that this would have, even if you just play it on board and they see you've got it on board, it'll really make them think twice about questing or, exerting or challenging with anything they have that, is a lot bigger than it, because if they know that on the follow-up turn you can just slam them into there and, remove something that maybe costs a lot more than he does. So a lot of potential. It's just, the little bit of downside there is that he has to, be the one doing the challenging. So, if he gets challenged, it won't banish the person or the character that challenged him. And he's also vulnerable to removal, like, the 3-cost Smash card would take him out. But he's got 2 lore, which is pretty good for 4 on top of his amazing effect. So I absolutely just love this guy.
And if you can't rush him in, then, your opponent can try to play around this as well.
Mm-hmm. But it also might stall them out. So, if that's in your game plan, like just maybe you put this down, assuming it will stall them out a bit, and then give you more time to, build up to whatever you're working toward in your deck. So,
yeah,
and I love the art. It's such a cool pose, like with the
tech
thorns.
Card, and there's certain cards this will pretty much just straight up counter. Like Goofy comes in as a 3/6 bodyguard, but will your opponent want to play him as a bodyguard if you've got a Prince Philip sitting there ready to take him out? That'd be a good value trade for the Philip player. So, but yeah, I like the 2 lore too, because if you're kind of ahead on board, he's just something nice to drop and start questing with as well. Mm-hmm. Of course, what's really cool about him is the ability to take something bigger out. But yeah, there will be times where you just want to quest for 2, because that is not a bad amount of lore for 4 cost.
And now we have Break.
This is a very simple card. It's a 2-cost inkable action, and it says banish chosen item. So, you could splash a couple of this into your deck if you just want to be able to deal with an item-heavy deck. Maybe someone plays Scepter of Arendelle on turn 1, and you're like, I don't want to deal with that all game. Well, this is a great card then for you. And if you're against the deck that isn't using items, it's always inkable. So yep. I see really not a whole lot of downside to this, other than deck space is going to be limited.
Yep, and it is in the same ink as the Beast, Hard-Headed, which you can break an item or banish an item on play. So, if you're already playing that, you might, just prefer to play that instead of this. But if you're not, or if you just want a cheaper way to do it, this is that option.
Yeah, because sometimes, getting to 5 lore or 5 ink before you can, play that beast, that might be, they might have got some value out of an item a few turns before that. So, break helps you kind of get rid of it early, but at the same time, you're not developing your board if you play this early. So
it'll be about finding the right time to use it. Like if they, play an early lantern, I mean, do you really want to let them sit and discount the characters they play, the costume all turn,
and Pocket Watch,
turn after turn.
Pocket Watch is another one of those strong ones that if you could just get that off the board for 2 cost, I think that's a great value.
Yeah, so this definitely has some potential here, and it's inkable if nothing else. Like if you get against a deck that isn't playing any items. So
unlike this next card, which is not inkable,
this one, if it's not Baroque, which costs 3, is uninkable, and it's a Sapphire action, which says return an item card from your discard to your hand. So this one, well, I love the art and the name of the card. It's, pretty punny, but I'm not so sure about, how much play it will see just because it's uninkable, which means, you're not able to just ignore it or, get rid of it or put it in the inkwell. So if you aren't having any items in your discard pile because, either you haven't found them to play them yet or the opponent isn't removing any of your items, then there just doesn't seem to be really any use for this card in the deck. And on top of that, I don't know, paying 3 to get an item back, I guess if your deck is really built around a specific item and, you're relying on that to win the game, I'm just not sure if we've, seen any items that are quite at that level yet necessarily. And you could always just run multiple copies of that item in your deck.
I mean, I think in the blue Ariel, that works well with items. This is just another way to get you an item so that she can ready again and quest again or whatever. So there is that, but I agree. Like,
I think it seems a bit slower, expensive.
Let's say I played the Pocket Watch and then someone broke it with either the Beast or the Break card.
Then you have to pay 6
I've already
to get it back.
I've already paid 3, and now I have to pay 3 more to get it, and then I have to pay another 3 to play it again. So I've spent 9 cost on this one item, using these 2 cards essentially by cycling my item back into my hand. So yeah, I think it's kind of too expensive. It's very niche and it's not inkable, and I think that really hurts it. So
it might have potential, like if there's some really important items that we've yet to see, or if you are using a heavy deck, because I know there are items like the Pocket Watch that could be very impactful. But yeah,
I think the 1 cost Scepter is probably one of the better examples, just since it's in the same color. And also, looking at, I think, the number of reveals left, there's still quite a few, I believe, item cards that are going to be revealed in Sapphire. It's maybe 3 or 4 more, in addition to what we already have. So there might be some items that just make this card really strong. But until we see the whole set, we just can't know for sure. But at face value right now, it looks like kind of expensive and not a great effect for the cost. So unless you're playing a very item specific deck and you really need this to make sure that you can get any items back that get broken, then I think this is probably one you can pass up on for now. But it does have the potential to get stronger with each new set every time an item comes out.
Yep.
Next we have Fan the Flames, which is a 1 cost inkable action, and it lets you ready chosen character, and then they can't quest for the rest of the turn. So we've seen a lot of red cards actually now that have a similar effect like that. The Scar that we just touched on earlier today, and the red Elsa, and now this one. But so basically you could challenge with something and then ready it, and then you could challenge again, or you could sing a song with something, ready it, do that again, or challenge. This is just another one of those things that gives you flexibility, and you can even play it on your opponent's characters. So, if they have a bodyguard, you can ready that bodyguard, and now you don't have to challenge through it. You can just go around it. It does give you a lot of interesting things. And then another big thing with this is any character that gets an effect off when it banishes something in a challenge, like Aladdin, you get to gain 2 lore and your opponent loses 2. Well, if you can attack once and do that, and then ready him again, and possibly get that effect off twice in 1 turn. Mulan's another example because she's got a good on-banish effect. So yeah, this card is just very flexible, and I think a lot of Ruby players will enjoy using it.
Yeah, it's got a lot of potential.
And you can always ink it if you don't have a moment, to get the value. So
yep. And now we have Ursula's Shell Necklace. This is uninkable, and it is a 3 cost amber. And it says now sing. Whenever you play a song, you may pay 1 to draw a card. So here is an item that is pretty impactful. anytime you play a song, you can pay 1 extra to draw a card, and card draw is huge in this game, very important. So some, just as an example, you could play Friends on the Other Side, which costs 3, and then you get to draw 2 cards. But if you sing that with the character or pay the 3, then you pay an additional 1 to draw 1 extra card. And so with every song you play, you get to draw an extra card. That'll really be a way to keep your hand full, especially if you are playing a deck based around a lot of singers or song, decks that care about having a lot of songs. And we'll see some singer cards coming up here. But yeah, I think this is clearly an item that has a lot of potential and visually looks very cool as well.
Yeah, I think it'll shine more in a song deck for sure.
Like here we have Sebastian, 2 cost Inkable and 2 strength, 2 willpower with 1 lore, and Singer 4, which is an interesting keyword. We wondered if something like this would be in the game, and here it is. It says that this character counts as cost 4 to sing songs. So normally, a 2 cost character would only be able to sing a song that costs 2 or less, but he's able to sing anything up to that cost of 4. So that just helps you, get access to cards that maybe would usually take longer to be able to play.
Now we've only seen one 4 cost song
cool.
so far. I'm sure there's going to be more because, having an effect Singer 4, it seems like they'd want that to be able to target, at least a few songs, I would imagine, in this first set. But right now, Hakuna Matata is the only one we've seen, and that's probably just not something you're going to play early, so I don't think Sebastian's going to help you get too much value out of that card.
But anything that costs 3 at least is still getting an extra benefit, that normally a 2 cost character couldn't. But yeah, there will probably be more 4 cost.
Yeah, and I think that's going to be nice when we see some better 4 cost songs get revealed, because then Sebastian's playability may go up quite a bit. Now we have Gaston, he is the Arrogant Hunter. This is the first card we've seen that has no lore on the side, and he is a 2 cost 4/2. So they did give him a lot of strength to make up for the fact that he does not have that lore. However, he does have Reckless, meaning he must challenge each turn if able. And I do think one thing that could be quite bad with this is, he does have to challenge, so your opponent can play in such a way that he has to basically banish himself. For example, if you play a 1 cost 2/2, I can just say, okay, on turn 2 I'm questing for lore, and if this is on board, well, if they don't have a different way to remove that 2/2, then Gaston has to run into it. So you don't really even have full autonomy over how you're going to use this card necessarily when it's sitting on your board, and it's
you
just
don't
really
get lore out of
gonna
them either.
And I'm trying to think, like, maybe your opponent is playing, let's just say for 3 on turn 3 they played the 2/4 Tinkerbell.
That would be
they're probably not going to just quest and knowing that you can trade with Gaston for free in that scenario. So he may stall your opponent to some extent if they don't have a way to get rid of him easy, because he does swing pretty high. But I think it really is bad in some cases how, if you need more lore towards the end of the game and you draw this, you're like, well, this doesn't help me. And then, of course, the fact that you have to challenge, versus it'd be different if this was just a 4/2 with no lore and no effect, but he has to challenge. So there will be times
he's definitely the strongest.
Don't want that. So he's inkable at least. That is something going for him, I guess. If you see like the board just doesn't make sense for him at this time, you can ink him. But
his strength stat at the 2 cost is the highest I think that we've seen. So that is one thing going for him. If you are able to somehow manage to get an optimal trade, maybe take out something that costed more than him or has high willpower. But yeah, it might be hard to pull off, so we will just have to see with that one. But I was wondering if we'd get a no lore character, so that was really cool to see here. I was kind of wondering, if we did, if it would either be really good stats, which is maybe more so what they're going with here, or if you could have a really bad stat no lore character with just an incredible effect. So this just makes me excited at the potential that there could be something like that as well at some point. But now we will check out another singer. This is a super rare. I was super pumped when I saw this one. 3 cost, Ariel, Spectacular Singer, 2 strength, 3 willpower, 1 lore, but has that singer keyword, and in her case it is Singer 5, so she can sing all the way up to songs that cost 5, which there are quite a few now, and very powerful ones at that. And then Musical Debut is her ability, which says when you play this character, look at the top 4 cards of your deck. You may reveal a song card and put it into your hand. put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. So this is just another cool way to, look at the top 4 of the deck, and if there's a song in there, pick the one that, best suits whatever you might be needing in your turns ahead, and then, put a few on the bottom. And so, it's another way to create some card draw value, I guess, if you are able to pull a song off the top. And I mean, if you build your deck around this card, then, it's probably likely you will find a song. So, and then, who knows, maybe in the future there's a way to pull a card off of the bottom 3 from your deck somehow, or like look at the bottom 3 and draw one. So, if that ever existed, you know what was there, and that might help set something like that up too. But I think just the singer ability is amazing in itself, and then add in that musical debut, and it's, really seems worthy of that super rare status.
Yeah, in a really song-focused deck, I think this is just great because even if you only have, 3 or 4 ink, you can sing something that costs 5 and then play something that costs 3 or 4, and you're basically spending 8 or 9 resources on that next turn, or you're getting value for 8 or 9 resources, but you're not spending that, and you're certainly not using this to quest for 1 lore most of the time. If you can sing something more expensive and it makes sense to do it, like she's just giving you a big discount. So I really like the potential of Ariel, and the on play, look at the top 4. When you do get to draw a card off of that, and get a song, I think this can just really accelerate, what you're trying to do, because she could look for that Be Our Guest, and then if you find that card, then you can go look for a character that you want with that, and you keep looking for different pieces that you need to kind of make your strategy work. So
yeah, I really like anytime like her stats are decent for the cost, and then you're getting a really good ability on her, plus then with and a great keyword as well. So the potential to play a card you want to play anyway, your opponent's going to want to deal with it before you get too much song value, and you might draw a card while you do it. I think it just is like a great target that they're going to want to go after, and she might eat some removal out of the deal too. And if it sticks, that's even better for you, because then you can really start singing a lot of songs. So
all right, up
great
next
card.
We have Anna, and she is the heir to Arendelle on this card. She is a 4-cost inkable 2/4 Storyborn Hero Queen, and her ability is Loving Heart. When you play this character, if you have a character named Elsa in play, and there are many Elsas, so this has some flexibility there. Mm-hmm. Choose an opposing character. The chosen character doesn't ready at the start of their next turn. Not only that, but she also has 2 lore. So 2 lore for the 4 cost is pretty nice. And I think this is going to combo very well with 2 of the other Amethyst Elsas that we've seen. There's the one that costs 3 that you can tap or exert to essentially exert one of your opponent's characters. So if you had Elsa in play, you could do that, and then you can play Anna and make sure that they stay exerted throughout their next turn. Also, the legendary Elsa we just saw, who can exert 2 characters in play, and they don't ready till the next turn. So even though that might take the bulk of your resources, on the following turn you could drop an Anna or a couple Annas and keep those same characters locked down, if you don't want to trade into them or something and just want to keep freezing your opponent out, locking them out from being able to use their units. So I really love like the control element that this adds. I do think like early game, this is the stats are gonna make you fall behind on board. So I think this is more of a mid to late game play once you've kind of got your bigger units established, or if you're just trying to lock them out while you try to finish off the game at the end. But really like kind of what they've done here with the Frozen theme and just the control piece, because I think it really fits.
Yep, and that 2 lore, that's that's not nothing, and the 4 willpower as well. I think 4 is an amount that's harder to take down. So still, that might help you stick that 2 lore for a while after she sees play, and yeah, very good control card there. And now grab your sword. Before we saw Be Prepared, this card was revealed, and this was like the first instance of really big AoE on an action. AoE damage, so it is a 5-cost uninkable song, and then it says deal 2 damage to each opposing character. So it doesn't matter, if the character has ward or if they're exerted or ready or whatever, it just deals 2 damage to each opposing character, and that's nice. It doesn't, damage your own characters while you play this. So a very strong way to take out a lot of weenie or aggro characters. So yeah, this has
and the fact that you can sing it is just really great too.
Right, so it's not like you're spending 5 ink. I mean, maybe you only have 5 ink to spend. If that was your whole turn, like just dealing 2 to everything, I mean, that doesn't develop your board, and if you're already behind, maybe it doesn't finish everything off, and then your opponent just gets to keep reloading the board. But yeah, if you're able to pull that off with this, singing it, just a lot of potential there. And with that giant fairy card we've seen, there's, a lot of synergy that you could pull off and dish out a lot of damage if both of those are on the board as well. Because, a lot of characters do have at least that 3 willpower threshold. So if you were able to have played her before and done 1 to everything, and then maybe the same turn you sing with her, because she'd be ready. If you shifted her on top of the smaller tink, then you could do 3 to everything in 1 turn, and then that's just a lot of potential for a lot of surprise damage, and it'll help clean up early game boards. So I think that's a big tempo swing in the game, and definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah, it'll make like people running those lower to the ground characters have to kind of evaluate, how wide they should go if they know they're against steel and you're getting close to those 5 resources. So here we have Triton the Sea King. Mm-hmm. He's a 7-cost inkable, 5/9 Storyborn King, and he has 2 lore on him. And really here, this is just an example of a high statted unit, and in fact, I think this is the highest willpower we've seen in the game. So as of now, nothing we've seen gets rid of this in 1 hit. And in Sapphire, you have the potential to ramp this out earlier than other inks would be able to play something like this. So the stats, if you can get this out quick, it's nice. It will do some nice trading for you. But at the same time, most of these higher cost cards are definitely a bit on the slow side. So, he's just as vulnerable to a removal as anything else is that doesn't have ward. So, it'd be nice if you could protect him with Aurora or something like that. And, he does have 2 lore as well. So it's nice that you'll be able to challenge. Or if you go on a quest, your opponent might need to try to deal with this because 2 lore adds up pretty quick. And so I think, this is a pretty great stat line for the cost.
Yeah, if they do have to challenge, it might take several.
I'm just not sure yet, how great vanillas that are on the higher end of the cost curve are going to be.
Since they don't do like an ability when they enter play, and you have to wait that turn before you can start attacking.
Right, because you could play this, and then for 3 costs they can play Mother Knows Best and send it back to your hand, and go about their day, and you're like, oh, do I want to play that again next turn? And then I still can't use it till the next turn after that.
Right.
So it's a bit rough for the higher cost things that if they don't have some protection against action cards and abilities.
It's cool to see King Triton here. The art is very nice, and I do wonder if we'll ever see some strength or willpower in the double digits, because this only costs 7, but it is able to get that 9 willpower. So maybe there will be some, a 10/10 or something that costs a lot, and maybe it doesn't have any ability. But yeah,
I think the more sets that come out, they'll probably change cards in different ways, and I'm sure going higher on some of the strength and the willpower is probably going to happen. But for now, that's the highest we've got is 9. So.
Well, here we have another character from The Little Mermaid. It is Flotsam, Ursula's Spy. 5 cost, uninkable. It is 3 strength, 4 willpower, and 2 lore with the rush keyword, and then an ability, Dexterous Lunge, which says your character's name Jetsam gain rush. So I think that's, it's cool that they're going to play off each other if you're running both Flotsam and Jetsam in a deck. This one can kind of come out and surprise your opponent with a nice rush attack, and then if you have Jetsams in play, or if you play Jetsams later, then they'll also be able to pop out with rush. So that is decent lore for the cost, I guess. The stats for a cost of 5 are not the best, but you'll see that it does get a little better when you do combine it with that Jetsam.
And I think Rush can be really powerful, and that's probably why that one is the uninkable of the 2. And, if you can rush in, get a trade, and stick around, then it can start getting 2 lore every turn, until it gets answered. Yep. Here we've got Jetsam, Ursula's Spy also. I like how they use the same sub-name for each, because they are both her spies. This is a 4-cost inkable 3/3 Storyborn ally with evasive, and Sinister Slither is the ability. Your character is named Flotsam, gain evasive. So if you've got Jetsam in play already, then your Flotsams will have evasive, and Flotsam can come in on turn 5 and rush. So if he rushes and then has evasive, if they don't have any evasive characters, they can actually challenge into him. So that's kind of cool there. And
you
back way back
multiple
when we were first getting into some content creation for this game, we were kind of thinking like, what are some duos we would really like to see? And Flotsam and Jetsam were one of the ones that we called out because we love the Little Mermaid, and they're both very very kind of cool, and yeah, we're kind of excited about the potential of them, and I think here they are.
The presence of them in the game and Ursula's shell necklace, I mean, it just has to speak to the fact that Ursula is definitely making an appearance.
Oh yes,
and
we're very excited to see her.
Yes, and she might be, a legendary that we are, still waiting to see revealed. It seems like now that we've gotten a couple ink colors where they have 2 legendaries now, so it does appear like we will probably be getting 2 legendaries per ink color at a minimum. And so I really think
we're still waiting on another purple one. So
yep,
I think it could either be Ursula or possibly the Evil Queen, but both of those seem like good options. And I mean, both of those seem like, if Ursula was an amethyst seems to be a lot of either like sorcerers or magic wielders, and she being a sea witch, that seems like very amethyst to me. But she could also be emerald, because I think she kind of tricks people into signing these contracts, and then they usually can't complete the contract and end up as little sea polyps.
So well, we're very excited to see that, but this is a cool duo.
Yes, Ursula is something we're looking out for.
And who knows, maybe they even play off of Ursula somehow. Maybe she, has an ability that could buff them in some way. So
next up, we have Lilo. She is a 1 cost, not inkable, 1/1, and with no effect but 2 lore. So this is essentially the same as the 1 cost Amethyst Maleficent. And so if you're going to try to play a very lore-hungry Amber deck, this is a great option to come in on turn 1. I know we've seen a lot more cards lately that can do like one damage to stuff. So it does make it a little risky, but a lot of those cards actually can't come out till maybe turn 4 or 5 or things like that.
So if you tried to make a deck with
you
this
can still,
and
I think you can get some
Maleficent.
good rush on. And what I like about this in Amber is that Hades that can recur things, characters to your hand. So if they've dealt with this, maybe you're lucky and you get a few 2 or 3 turns of questing with this. But if it gets dealt with later, you can still play it again very cheaply, and then quest again, hopefully for 2 more. And so every little bit of lore in a deck like that is going to matter.
And I love this artwork. And I recently rewatched Lilo and Stitch. That was one of the most recent Disney films I watched. And I know I loved it when it came out. And it's just a great film. And I really like how this captures Hawaii. And she is looking at the stars. And I think in foil, this one would just be very, very nice.
Yes, and after Lilo, we have Pongo, which is a 4-cost inkable old rascal with a 2/3 stat line. So they're making up for the stat line by giving him evasive and 2 lore. So this is one of those ones where if your opponent isn't really playing evasive units, and if they don't have some 3 damage removal in hand or something, you may be able to just kind of quest for 2 a lot with this. But then again, you might need to be dealing with your opponent's board, and his 2/3 stats probably aren't going to do much for that. So. And I think with that new Tinkerbell, if she shifts out, she does 1 to everything, and then if she can put someone away with an attack, she can do 2 damage elsewhere. And so anything with 3 health now is looking really vulnerable to something like that, even if it's evasive, because she can't attack him, but if she clears something else, that 2 damage can hit an evasive unit. So, but still, I think
I think the upside is clearly if they're unable to deal with evasive, just based on the type of deck they're playing, then you might get away with a lot of lore off of this. But if they do have removal, they might spend less to remove this than you spent to play this, and so in that way it could be that's the risk of playing this card. But the art's nice, and it does have potential, especially in an all evasive deck.
There's a lot of evasive in Ruby, and this just helps you on your cost curve if you want to play one at the 4 cost.
And maybe you play ward as well, so that they can't even target it with actions, and then they're basically left to, need like an evasive unit or some other way to take it out without targeting it. So, there's potential for Pongo. And the last card that we have yet to cover on the channel so far that has been revealed is Kronk, Right Hand Man. He costs 6, he's inkable with 2 lore, 6 strength, and 6 willpower. So basically, no ability, so kind of a vanilla character there. But again, this is a pretty beefy stat line from, compared to most of the characters we've seen. And, for a cost of 6, you're getting a 6 willpower character with 6 strength. And the 2 lore, I think that's, pretty significant. I mean, you can compare it to, like, if you play Cerberus for 5, that's a 5/6 with only the 1 lore. But if you wait an extra turn and pay an extra ink, you can get a 6/6, which would, take out the Cerberus in one swing and then stick around to maybe quest for a couple. And of course, there's a lot of characters that have a lot worse stats that are just, more being played for the ability. So he might be able to get a 2 or 3 trades against ones like that. It'll just be questionable again if being kind of a vanilla, if it's a little slow and therefore wouldn't, merit an include, or if it will be, seeing some play.
I do like how this one really is pretty beefy and pretty strong and still gets you that 2 lore. So if you can get to this ink level, and if you're kind of controlling the board in steel, which steel seems like it has a lot of ways to control the board and do damage, then having this very well statted card come out for 2 more lore, I think this could cause some problems for the opponent. And now, as his quote there says, oh yeah, it's all coming together. Well, it certainly is coming together here in terms of the reveals we've seen. I think now we just reviewed about 51 cards here, and there's 53 or so cards left, I think, before we've seen the whole set. So we're still waiting on those.
Kind of thinking they might be revealed by the start of Gen Con, which is coming up on August 3rd. So that's approaching pretty quick. And yeah, it's exciting to know that, once we see the full set, we'll really be able to, analyze everything a little more deeper and a little more coherently, really see what all the best looking combos might be.
Yeah, I think
and just start crafting decks.
I think we're all in for a fun week next week because it is Lorcana week, I believe. And I'm just imagining that, by the end of next week, we're probably going to see, if not all, probably very many of what is yet to be revealed at this point. And it was very fun, just kind of going over all of these cards. And I think just, the many we saw in the past couple of days just opened up so many different ways to play.
Yeah, so it still leaves you wondering, like, what else is out there that we don't know about. And
yeah, I'm sure they're saving a lot of
ones,
really great stuff to kind of wow us with at the end. And we're already really wowed. We're very impressed with the team at Ravensburger and everyone that's had a part in making this game. It just seems like you're really giving a great effort and making this the best it can be. So we're
excited to play.
We're thankful for that, and we're very happy and excited to try to play this for the first time when it comes out later in August.
Yep, very looking forward to that. And of course, we will plan to cover the rest of the cards that are revealed in the set and, go from there. So thank you so much if you've stuck through to the end. I know we got a little long, but it was, a fourth of the set that got revealed since our last video. And yeah, we just got about a fourth of the set to go. And, we will
looking forward to
cover that later. Yes, thank you so much for watching.
Yep, catch you next time.
Yep, bye.